The Channel 2 News 24-hour weather line, 259 WKRN.
For Joseph Scipio, the end of more than 5 years of captivity in Lebanon. With only 2 Americans still being held, is the 7-year hostage ordeal about to come to an end?
This is ABC News Nightline. Substituting for Ted Koppel and reporting from New York, Forrest Sawyer.
It has been 7 long years of personal tragedy and foreign policy disasters, but now there are only 2 American hostages left in Lebanon, Alan Steen and Terry Anderson. Joseph Scipio has just been released, and if a new announcement from the self-proclaimed kidnappers is to be believed, Steen will also be a free man in less than 48 hours. This is, many observers believe, not only the end of the hostage crisis, but also the beginning of a new period of Middle East negotiations, one where Syria and Iran must find ways to make peace with the West, where United Nations negotiators quietly shape complex deals with all the parties apparently willing to inch toward compromise, where even Arab-Israeli peace talks seem to have some chance of success. But peace is not a word that comes easily in the Middle East. Is this picture too optimistic? Tonight, the future of the remaining hostages and the new politics of the Middle East. First, some background from correspondent Dave Marish.
Look back at us as you have.
In Norristown, Pennsylvania this morning, there was celebration.
The hammer of freedom, Tommy. It's the hammer of freedom. Ring that bell all over the world.
And there was suffering.
He's not well. He doesn't look good at all.
His voice sounded
Strong, but you can tell he's been sick. You can tell he's been through a lot. He looks bad.
It was indeed a gaunt and shaken Joseph Scipio who spoke with news people in Damascus today after more than 5 years as a hostage.
I don't know what to say, really. I'm all tense right now, but I do want to thank everyone.
Scipio's physical condition obviously was influenced by stomach surgery he'd had in Lebanon 2 months ago. His psychological condition showed the effects of years of near-total isolation.
I've been 5 years without any newspapers, television, magazines, so I have to learn everything over again.
In 1989, Scipio faced more than just isolation. When he was forced to make this propaganda videotape, another American hostage, Marine Colonel William Higgins, had just been murdered by his kidnappers.
Don't be late, because they are very serious to hang us.
He has had, in effect, the sword of Damocles hanging over him throughout this time. To feel your life is literally in the hands of your hostage keepers is a dreadful and continuing stress.
Psychologist Dr. Gerald Post, who's done many profiles of world leaders for the CIA, says this history of intimidation helps explain Scipio's cooperation in another propaganda tape released in Beirut yesterday.
I wish to thank the Organization of Revolutionary Justice for taking care of me in the name of humanity during the past few years.
These thanks may ring hollow to Western ears.
I demand and hope that the United States forces Israel to release all the prisoners detained in Israel.
But Dr. Post says in the Middle East, a different message comes through, one that may ensure the survival of Scipio's kidnappers.
Hezbollah depends for its support upon its masters in Tehran, and however negatively we may view this, this will be seen as a positive statement within the sectors of the Middle East and in consistency with the Quranic injunction of not harming one's hostages.
How are you feeling, sir?
Scipio and his wife Elam arrived late today in Wiesbaden, Germany, where he'll undergo medical and psychological testing. He says the terrorists want to, quote, close the file on the hostages. And so it would appear does the Bush administration. Last week, the United States agreed to compensate the hostage-takers' mentors in Iran for $278 million worth of undelivered American weapons once sold to Tehran. The week before, the administration had all but exonerated Iran and Syria in the 1989 bombing of Pan Am Flight 103. This wiping away of past grievances is clearly aimed at aiding future Mideast peace negotiations.
The whole hostage issue has put a cloud over aspects of the negotiation, and removing the dark cloud of hostage taking would open up certain avenues in the negotiation.
Still to be settled, the fates of American hostages Terry Anderson and Alan Steen, who reportedly will be released within 48 hours. More difficult, Israel's demand for freedom for, or at least information about, their airman Ron Arad, and Muslim demands for the release of Israeli-held spiritual leader Sheikh Abdel Karim Obeid. Difficult, but Robert Satloff insists doable.
The negotiation is quite clear. Arad has to be released, and any other evidence regarding other Israeli missing personnel has to be given to UN authorities. Once that is done, the outlines of a deal regarding Obeid are available.
Also worrisome to Westerners is that 2 German hostages may be traded for the release of 2 notorious terrorists now being held in Germany. Abbas Hamadi, convicted of kidnapping, and his brother Mohammed Ali Hamadi, convicted of hijacking TWA Flight 847 and the murder of American serviceman Robert Steedham.
If the Germans are going to release Hamadi, they should release him to us. We've got a warrant out for his arrest. We've got an agreement with the Germans that they will not release him. We should be indeed very upset if they do. However, if they do, they do.
The end of an era is looming. A nexus of needs is reshaping reality in the Middle East. Iran needs normalized relations with the West. Syria needs a subsidy to substitute for the one it can no longer get from the Soviet East. The hostage takers need a way to give up the game without giving up their lives. And Israel and the United States need peace. More than ever before, it now looks like all these parties may get at least some, if not all, of what they need. I'm Dave Marish for Nightline in Washington.
And joining us from Damascus is a man who was a hostage himself for a time, ABC News correspondent Charles Glass, to help us make sense of all of this. Charles, certainly there's an optimistic feeling that's floating around now, a feeling that Steen and Anderson will be out before the end of the year. Is that the same mood in Damascus?
Well, there's already been a statement early this morning out of Beirut from the so-called Islamic Jihad for the Liberation of Palestine that Alan Steen would be released within 48 hours. No further word on Terry Anderson, though, although the UN negotiators here, Gian Domenico Pico, for example, the main UN envoy, is still here working for the release of all of the Western hostages, but no further word on Terry Anderson, although possibly next week.
But there is, as I say, that sense of optimism, and that's the optimism that Pico has been pushing us toward, that somewhere out there is a deal that's workable.
Well, Pico's been saying since last August when he got involved that he believed that all of the Western hostages would be out of Lebanon by the end of the year, and he seems to be very much on schedule. Only 2 Americans left in Beirut, 2 Germans left in Beirut, but he's working just as actively, he says, for the Lebanese who are held by Israel, and they're very important, he says, from the UN and the humanitarian point of view, very important to have them out.
How do you think he has been able to be so effective? And this has been a very global problem, one between the West and the Lebanese kidnappers, and they tried to raise their cause to the world. How has he managed to shift the ground?
I think what happened was that before he got involved, the ground had already shifted in Iran. President Rafsanjani had announced in July that the hostage countdown had begun, and he was anticipating the release of all the hostages. It was shortly after that that the UN became involved with, in a way, an Iranian mandate, an Iranian okay to negotiate, meaning that Iran would order the Hezbollah over a period of time to let the hostages go. Meanwhile, Pico would have to work on an arrangement with the Israelis so that Hezbollah could get some of their people out of Israel.
Where do you see the sticking points at this juncture?
They seem to be procedural. I think in principle there is an agreement by all the parties involved to let everyone go. But procedurally, there seem to be last-minute demands, particularly by the Hezbollah, for things that we don't even know about. Sometimes things to do with Libya, sometimes things to do with demands from Israel or information on people who are held in Israel.
ABC News correspondent Charles Glass in Damascus. Thank you very much, Charles. When we come back, we will talk with Israel's chief hostage negotiator, Uri Lubrani, and with the former coordinator for counterterrorism at the State Department, Ambassador Robert Oakley.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Mazda.
In the right hands, even the most functional things can be art. So we ask asked a sculptor to design a new luxury sedan, the Mazda 929. And while it offers a generous list of safety features and amenities to comfort both mind and body, its richest rewards are for the soul. The new 929, the first luxury sedan from the new Mazda.
It just feels right.
Everyone has a dream, a vision deep inside.
When I decide to follow up on an investing idea, I need a broker who's ready when I am.
We make it easier to follow your own lead.
I can call Schwab at any hour, nights or weekends, get the information I need, even place an order to trade.
Always there to give you just the help you need.
Help yourself at Schwab today.
There's a place in Louisiana that's almost more European than American. They call it New Orleans. Louisiana, we're really cooking. Give us a call.
Yeah, man, we're really cooking, man.
Raising happier, healthier children. If the French can do it, why can't the U.S.? Lessons to learn on the American agenda on ABC's World News tonight.
Joining us from Tel Aviv is Uri Lubrani, Israel's chief hostage negotiator. And from our Washington studio, Robert Oakley, a Middle East specialist at the United States Institute for Peace. He was formerly the coordinator for counterterrorism at the State Department. Mr. Lubrani, let me begin with the same question that I asked Charles Glass just a moment ago. Where do you see the sticking points at this juncture? Where could this thing take a wrong turn?
Well, there are many pitfalls, but I believe that the most important thing at this moment is to know whether those who are keeping the hostages and our prisoners of war are prepared to go the whole way and release everybody.
There is a concern, at least that some Israelis have expressed, that the Israelis might be left out of this process, that the Western hostages might be released, and Ron Arad, the Israeli airman who is believed still to be alive in Lebanon, might be left behind. Do you hold that worry?
Well, there is always a worry, but as we believe that those who are keeping the hostages and our prisoners of war are interested in getting their detainees and who are both in Lebanese hands and in our hands in Israel back home, I believe that they would want to have a deal.
There is this announcement that was made by Tehran radio on Monday that at least 4 Western hostages in Lebanon are going to be freed under a UN-brokered deal that was clinched on Saturday night that includes a pledge by the governments involved not to retaliate against the kidnapping groups. Has this deal been cut?
Well, if you ask me whether we have been involved in such a deal, the answer is negative, but I think such a deal is possible.
Would you be willing then to make that kind of pledge not to retaliate against pro-Iranian kidnapping groups?
If we get our boys back, indeed, yes.
Mr. Oakley, Ambassador Oakley, there has been, it seems, a very fundamental change in strategy among the kidnappers. Before, they were willing to say, we're going to give you back your hostages, but we want some of the Arabs who have been held in return. Now they're willing to give back the hostages in exchange for promises. Why have they made that shift?
Well, I'm not sure there's been that much of a shift. If you look at it, there have been several groups of Arabs released by the Southern Lebanese Army or by Israel over the last 2 or 3 months, and this thing has been progressing in stages with the assistance of the United Nations, who I think is doing a good job. I think the basic shift came somewhat earlier when it became clear that Tehran and Damascus, for their own reasons, felt that the taking of hostages and the continued holding of hostages was counterproductive.
Well, put that for me in a broader perspective, if you would. Why is this happening now, after 7 years of logjam? What's changed in the world to cause it to come about?
Well, I think the change in the world, as some of your interviews suggested earlier, have come from the realization that the Soviets are no longer a player, that extremism is not going to pay off, that the economies of Syria and Iran badly need a connection to the West, to Japan, to the United States. The consistent position of the Japanese, the Western Europeans, and of course the Americans, that there had to be an end to hostage holding as well as hostage taking. The effects of the war in the Gulf, the desire of peace, all these things have caused at least a change insofar as the hostage element is concerned. There are other elements of terrorism that are still alive out there, and there is still tremendous residual hostility toward Israel and toward the United States. But the hostage issue apparently has become counterproductive, and the Iranians and the Syrians want to get rid of it.
Well, you know, Mr. Librani, that one of the things that is of greatest concern to the people who took the hostages is the release of Sheikh Obaid, whom you are holding now. At what point would you be willing to release Sheikh Obaid?
Sheikh Obaid will be released when all our prisoners will be released, particularly Ron Arad.
Is there any point at which you would consider his release prior to Mr. Arad coming back?
I don't believe there is any possibility of that.
Do you have reason to believe that this is going to take place anytime in the near future? Can you give us a sense of where the discussions are at this juncture?
Well, I don't know. This is in the hand of the United Nations, but of course we feel that things are progressing. I think that the gesture which we were asked to make by the Secretary General of the United Nations a few days ago, and to which we agreed, and we have released 25 detainees, indicate that there is progress in this, and we dearly hope that this is going to continue until the whole thing is completed.
Forgive me for pressing, and I know that you need to be somewhat circumspect in what you say about these kinds of things, but I suppose we are looking at trying to find out how close we are to crossing the T's and dotting the I's in this discussion. Are we that close at this juncture?
Well, I wouldn't like to sound over-optimistic, because, you know, the level of expectation is growing, and one has to be realistic. We have seen these things before, and we have had so many setbacks and frustrations, but I don't think we have come that far before, and one has to hope and pray that this momentum will continue. There are lots of pitfalls in the way, and I think what we've heard just before we were on is part of it. I mean, we are dealing with many organizations. We are dealing with hang-ups, and we are dealing with mutual suspicion, and these have to be overcome in order to get this deal together. But I have a notion that we might just be on the threshold of the completion of the whole thing.
That is as optimistic as I've ever heard you, sir. We'll come back and continue the discussion in just one moment.
We were all tied up on the Delacorte case, unable to identify the mystery blonde. Luckily, Louis was back. A Freedom Zoom camera.
With Minolta's unique eye start, Freedom starts zooming before it even meets your eye. So, when you can't get to the picture, Freedom zooms the picture to you. And fast. Shoot! Look at this. It's our secretary.
Looks like she takes more than dictation.
Americans choose the freedom to zoom.
Only from the mind of Minolta.
With its fluid curves, aggressive 160 horsepower engine, and anti-lock brakes, the new Honda Prelude SI makes driving a more illuminating experience.
Volunteers are needed for these. The Bethlehem Center provides community programs and services to residents of North Nashville. They need minority male volunteers to interact with young men ages 10 to 17. The Second Harvest Food Bank collects and warehouses donated food. Volunteers are needed to sort food for emergency food boxes. You can call this number to volunteer. Cave Springs School for Handicapped Youth in Cheatham County needs volunteers to become reading tutors and assist clients with daily tasks. The Cumberland Science Museum needs volunteers to help with Christmas at the Cumberland, scheduled for December 13th. Call 862-5160 to volunteer. Rochelle Center provides services for adults with mental retardation and their families. The agency needs volunteers to sit with adults with mental retardation while parents run errands. If you're a nonprofit and need volunteers, write to WKRN at this address or call 256-8272.
UT Falls, the place to be is watching Channel 2 News Nightside, right up till the Fiesta Bowl. Channel 2 sports fan Nan Holt and the sports guy Steve Phillips will bring you nightly Falls updates with spectacular game video and behind-the-scenes reports. Team up with Channel 2 News for nightly Falls updates every night at 10 till January 1st, only on Channel 2 News Nightside.
The effects and memories are overwhelming. Here's stories from both sides. Join David Brinkley, Pearl Harbor. 2 hours that changed the world. Thursday.
Tomorrow, America's aging student body, why higher education is attracting older students.
Also, Star Trek's William Shatner and a holiday tea with Jacqueline Bissett on Good Morning America tomorrow.
Ambassador Oakley, there was a reminder of the hostage crisis, that 440-day-long event that we all had to live through, and when a State Department official turned over $260 million today to the Iranians in compensation for weapons that had been impounded back then. Came on the same day that Joseph Sicipio was released, and the United States has been very quiet during all of this. Now, how has the United States played a role, even if a passive one, in this process?
Well, first, let's not link the latest decision of the tribunal with the hostage release process.
I don't mean to do that. I simply mean to say that it shows a warming of relations between
Iran and the US. It was suggested earlier, but there have been a whole series of decisions, and both Iran and the United States have complied with the decisions, and the implication that there's some sort of political linkage is not so. On the other hand, the fact that this process is proceeding smoothly in parallel with and independently of the release of the hostages is certainly going to continue the slow thaw in relations between the United States and Iran. But there's a lot of animosity still in Iran against the United States, and certainly the Americans haven't forgotten the previous hostage situations. But there is a slow improvement because the Iranians need to improve their relations with the West. They would like to improve their relations with the United States, but very, very slowly, I think. The whole area, and the same thing is true with the Syrians, as we've said earlier.
Is it not fair to say that inside the United States government there's quite an internal debate over how to deal with Iran now and just how quickly to move in this thawing process?
Well, I think that for the last, I'd say, 3 years, both the Reagan and the Bush administrations have understood that it was going to be a slow, difficult process, and we're not in any hurry. And the Iranians are not in any hurry because there's a lot to be healed, and there's still a long ways to go in terms of Iranians wanting to have normal relations with the United States. As we saw, the end of October, Tehran hosted a big anti-peace rally to protest the Madrid Peace Conference. So there's a lot of that residual animosity and radicalism still in Iran, even though it's slowly fading away. But the administration, I think, has helped the most by staying out of it, by not showing the sort of excessive concern for hostages. Has led it in the past to have the President of the United States say, I'm going to stay in the White House until the hostages are released, and another president at least authorize, if not actively participate, in the provision of arms to Iranians in order to get the hostages out. This time we've not done that. We've handled it properly.
Charles, you've been in the region for a long time, and you have watched this gradual shift. Give me a sense of how things are different now among the various players.
I think what should be borne in mind is that this could be the first time since 1979, except for a brief period after the release of the embassy hostages from Iran in 1981, when there have been no American hostages held in the Middle East by Iran. That'll be a significant development in U.S.-Iranian relations, and one that indicates that the Iranians at last, under President Rafsanjani, are willing to move towards an improvement with the United States to the point where the United States will allow Western lending institutions under its influence to help Tehran and its economy, something Rafsanjani badly needs. In the meantime, I think we should remember what U.S. Ambassador Christopher Ross said today when CCPO was released. He said that he thanked Syria for its role, but he also pointed out that there will be a final accounting for those Americans who died in captivity. And we have to remember that 2 Americans were murdered in captivity, Colonel William Higgins and William Buckley. And that probably won't be forgotten by the United States for a long time to come.
Mr. Librani, you wear 2 hats. You're the chief hostage negotiator, but you're also the negotiator on the Middle East peace talks. All of this, I suppose, affects the Middle East peace talks in some fashion. How would you say it sheds light on that?
Well, I would definitely agree with Ambassador Oakley that this is all sort of shaping together into a new situation in the Middle East. We all hope that it'll take off. Certainly the hostage problem has been an overriding impediment on some progress in other fields. We feel that if all parties will be wanting to put their endeavors together to make some progress on the peace, we will certainly see a new page in the Middle East, which we hope will evolve as a result of the peace initiative.
Mr. Librani, Ambassador Oakley, Charles Glass, I thank all 3 of you for talking, and of course we'll be watching what happens there. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll be back in a moment with a program note.
Ford Motor Company. Profiles in quality. Pride.
When you get pride, you get quality. That's what I said back in '81.
And today we still have that same pride.
And from what we hear, a lot of people think we're doing a pretty good job.
You can hear the quality.
You can see the quality.
You can feel the quality in the way it handles.
Thanks.
That's what happens at Ford Mercury and Lincoln when quality is job one.
Hey, Ace has everything you need to deck the hall.
What's left for Santa to do?
You'll ask Ace, too.
This Fiskars 3-piece scissor set is only $9.99, and the Ace 10-piece wrench set is also only $9.99.
Hey, Ace is a place for me.
And Santa.
You can count on Sears for great Christmas values. All holiday sweaters are 25% off. Beautiful dresses and blouses, too, with shimmers, shine, and style. All 25% off through Saturday. Only at Sears.
Today, Tektred Shoe Corporation announced a major retail expansion in 25 U.S. cities.
When I see a company that looks like a good investment, I check it out myself.
We make it easier to follow your own lead.
At Charles Schwab, I can get quotes, financial news, and when I make a trade, commission savings.
Always there to give you just the help you need.
Help yourself at Schwab today.
Premier Connections. Shh, don't tell anyone. Pick up your phone and dial 1-900-786-9090 now and meet exciting women and men like you. Get real phone numbers of available adults in your area and nationwide. 1-900-786-9090. Premier Connections is the sensational romance service for everyone. 1-900-786-9090. Catch it. Call now, and please be 18. Only $5 per minute.
Tomorrow on World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, the first of a 2-part series on childcare in France. How the French system supports the family before the baby is even born. But that is our report for tonight. I'm Forrest Sawyer in New York. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been ABC News Nightline. If you wish a videocassette version of Nightline, the cost is $14.98 plus $3.95 shipping and handling. If you wish a printed transcript of this or any Nightline broadcast, please send $4 to 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203.
Nightline is a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tuesday, it was a time of hope.
You don't think there are good chaperones in Hollywood?
Oh, you read as well as I do the kind of things they do out there.
And of promise.
So dating does not interest you?
Under different circumstances.
It's because I'm Jewish?
Absolutely not. I'm content.
I have never been content.
Homefront, Tuesday.
Called the Psychic Connection and spoke with a live psychic. They told me I'd meet someone special. A few days later, I did.
My psychic astrologer told me I was destined for a better job. I got it. I keep the Psychic Connection everywhere.